gentlemen, welcome to another exciting week of the Heel Section Wrestling Podcast. We're a group of friends and wrestling enthusiasts from all over the country who've been enjoying professional wrestling for more than 3 decades. We take a critical look from a smart fan's perspective at the WWE, Ring of Honor, Lucha Underground, and New Japan. Wrestling is our politics. Joining us this week are the brothers Adcock, Mr. Business, Justin Adcock, and our producer, the heart and soul of the heel section, Joshua Adcock, our producer. All right. This week, it's springtime, and that means it's time for wrestling's craziest tournament, the New Japan Pro Wrestling Super Juniors, a round-robin style competition in which wrestlers are awarded points for wins and losses for a shot at the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. One of the tournament's opening matches, Ricochet versus Will Ospeary, set the wrestling world on fire last week. The match and the tournament ended with Ospreay capturing the coveted spot, first by defeating Ricochet, several others, and then in the finals, Ryusuke Taguchi. Now, over the past week, I've heard a lot of talk about this match. I've tried to listen to every podcast I could on it. I've tried to read everything I could on it. Jim Ross loved it, said it was a Match of the Year candidate.
Oh, did he?
He did, and Stone Cold Steve Austin said Match of the Year candidate. The only thing they had to say, they said it was athleticism at its finest. They both agreed that they needed Ricochet and Ospreay needed to slow down a little, sell a little more. That was their only critique. Yeah. Jim Cornette, even though he said this is not a wrestling match,
right?
It is an athletic exhibition. Even he said, and I'm quoting, "I cannot shit on this match. These guys are just too good." Justin, you've seen this match. What did you think of it?
Oh, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. I love what those guys do. I do not think that is all wrestling should be. I think Jim Cornette, and I've never met Corny. I'm sure he's a self-professed asshole, but I'd love to meet him. He's a hero, and I just he kind of hates this stuff. He doesn't think it's wrestling. It is absolutely wrestling. What those guys are doing is just a different style of wrestling. It's like people trying to say that like hip-hop isn't music or rap isn't music. Oh, it is. You can't get around it. It is definitely music. This is definitely wrestling. And these guys I would say they're probably 2 of the 3 best in the world that are not under the E's roof right now. And I love every I haven't seen, Will Ospreay has not had a bad match that I've seen. And Ricochet early on was wrestling some scrubs, and I just haven't seen enough Ospreay to see him wrestling scrubs. But what those guys have been doing the last, 2-3 years that I've seen, and maybe, I know it's been longer than that, but what I've seen, that's like, it's art. It's beautiful. I love it.
Josh, what are your thoughts?
I guess I'm of the old Cornette persuasion. It was pretty. I won't take anything away from it. It was, it was pretty. There was a lot of flash, but it just wasn't. It's not the kind of wrestling I like. Nah, man. Well,
like you sat there and watched that, and you were like, "I am not enjoying this." I mean, it's fine. I just want to know.
It really just wasn't my thing.
Okay.
There was a lot of times it feels like it's flash for the sake of flash and not a lot of substance. Like, for instance, there was that one exchange where they did, of course, the kick where they jump over and the other kick that goes over someone's head, and then they ran to opposite ropes and then cut a backflip and landed in front of each other in that kind of pose-off stance.
Pose. Yeah.
And the Iron Man pose.
Right,
Iron Man pose, yeah.
Maybe my favorite spot in the match.
Well, that's the thing. I didn't care for that spot.
Okay. I knew watching it, I was like, if there's shit that someone doesn't like about this, it's going to be that. It's going to be that sort of that's very predetermined.
Right. It feels rehearsed. It feels rehearsed. It feels not organic. And in a match that doesn't otherwise unfold organically, it feels out of place. And there were like 2 or 3 of those, little pose-offs like that. And one's fine, but after you've got a couple, it's like, all right, that's enough. Actually wrestle. Now, like I said, I enjoyed it, for how pretty it was and everything, but when it came down to it, it just wasn't my kind of wrestling. I'm a little more traditional, and I make no bones about the idea that I'm always of the WWE mindset. But it just wasn't for me.
Okay. You know, I can see that, and here are my thoughts on it. This is actually a very good conversation to have, because Justin obviously loved it. He loves that style. Josh, you, it's just not for you. I'm sort of, I guess, between them. And let me say this. I loved it dearly. But I also loved what, to me, is the absolute polar opposite of that match, which was also the first round of the Super Juniors, Kushida versus Kyle O'Reilly. Now, these are maybe the two best mat workers on Earth right now. And it was a match that was a classic wrestling match that you could have seen 45, 50 years ago. It was submission holds. It looked like a legitimate fight. The biggest spot in the match was when Kushida climbed up on the ropes and Kyle O'Reilly kicked his leg out from under him, and Okada, who was actually on commentary in English, screamed, "Oh shit!" And Jasmine and I laughed our asses off. And to me, both of these matches are perfect examples of what I love about wrestling. And to me, the strength of Ring of Honor, the strength of New Japan, is that when I tune into ROH or I tune into New Japan, I know that in their card, I'm going to see a match like the Ospreay Ricochet match. It's a spot monkey match. It's a bunch of high-flying stuff. It's an exhibition. And then I'm going to see a mat workers match. And then I'm going to maybe, if I'm watching like the Briscoes versus War Machine, it's going to be just a bunch of huge guys beating the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
Then if I'm seeing, like maybe Jay Lethal and Roderick Strong, I'm going to see like a Steamboat Flair kind of thing. And I love the variety of that. So one thing that Steve Austin said in this podcast was, you could not have a whole card, 3 hours, of Ospreay versus Ricochet matches. But to have one match like that in the main event or the semi-main event is perfect. And that's kind of, I will say this for it, I've seen a lot of matches like that. I've seen a lot of matches that were like the Young Bucks, jumping over ropes. I've seen tons of matches like that. Of that kind of match, that was by far the best. And one of the things I really appreciated about it, though, Josh, you're absolutely right. It's a bunch. When you watch that match, it's pre-rehearsed. But one thing I loved about it was so many of those crazy high-flying spots made sense. They were counters. Like Ricochet would be coming off the ropes, and Ospreay would have to do this incredible thing to avoid what Ricochet was about to do. And I have never seen that in a match like that. I've never seen a match where... Go ahead.
Like the one-handed cartwheels out of arm locks. Just the standing flips they would do to get in and out of holds. All of it's all, to a certain degree, it's all rehearsed and predetermined. These guys, the WWE wrestlers work house shows and run programs to get used to how one another work in the ring. Very rarely does anyone get in the ring and lay hands on one another for the first time at a major contest. Although recently, Zayn and Nakamura did it and had what I think thus far is probably match of the year.
Yeah.
Agreed.
The magic can happen, but who the fuck wants to get in the ring with Dave Bautista the first time out and just hope you can come up with something? Who wants to get in the ring with? I'm sure you could get in there with a Flair, Jay Lethal. Like they're generals. They're guys. Jericho. Man, I'd wrestle with Jericho right now, and I don't even know how to bump.
Yeah. And he probably wouldn't hurt you.
That's right. That dude's saying if he did hurt you, it's because you probably screwed up and made him look bad.
Yep.
And that's how it should be. Like you're not going to drop anybody directly on their head, but you might lay into someone a little bit harder than you need to get a point across. And I get that. It's when you say it's like this was all rehearsed or whatever. Well, yeah, but as I recall, there are no spots in this that have quote unquote never been done. Right?
Josh, I disagree. They did stuff. They did stuff that I've never seen in the wrestling ring. I got to be straight up, and it's not that I haven't seen the exact spots. I've never seen those spots make sense, and that's what I appreciated about it. Go ahead. You were saying.
Oh, that's good. No, it was just. I mean, I just don't. I mean, there were. I guess like there. How do I put this? There are movements specific to these guys. Movements, characteristic movements, like the way Ricochet sells, the way that Ospreay, does whatever, some of his signature stuff, his backflip, his imploder, splash there at the end, whatever he's doing. They're not doing moves that haven't been done before, and they're not even doing 100% wholly original combinations because there have been so many matches. It's almost impossible to say, yeah, this, there were every spot in this match was new. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, because I don't know if Nick, I don't, and Josh, I don't even know how much this of you, but before Sin Cara came up and was Mystico, the first guy that was Sin Cara,
right?
Mystico did this shit all the time. Mystico did stuff that was this impressive, if not more impressive.
Yeah, but
he did it with guys who were really, really talented and could keep up.
But there was a different set of styles in the ring. It wasn't both guys doing the same kind of stuff. Both of those guys are. It was all about the flash and everything. Mystico was doing it, but he generally was wrestling somebody that was working a more standard style.
They did have, but there were spot fests.
Oh yeah.
They're that's all. The young bucks, all they do is just hit spots.
Yeah.
They sell the pinfall, but that's about it.
Now let me make something. Before I step on my tongue here a little bit. I don't know the background of these guys. I have not kept up with Ring of Honor as closely, New Japan, sorry. I haven't kept up as close with it as y'all have. This was one of my first or second exposure to either one of these guys.
Oh, okay.
So it's not like I know that this is something they normally do. I don't have context for it. Because y'all have been kind of getting it over to me, saying, hey, you need to check this out. I'm like, okay. And what I've seen, I've enjoyed, but there are certain parts of it that's it's too much in that direction for me.
Okay.
I can see that. Josh, one thing I think you would like it, and for our listeners, I think what you would enjoy about New Japan is, frankly, it's got a real sports feel to it. This match was on the outer skirts of what they do as far as sort of spot monkey matches.
Right.
Ishii. They're strong. Yeah, they're strong style shit. Ishii and Goto and Okada and Nakamura. When he was over there, he worked a lot. He worked a little bit stronger than he seems to be doing over here. He's getting a little bit more finesse here. Dude, that shit is, man, those guys are knocking the hell out of one another.
Yeah, I've seen, bits and pieces of things. I've seen complete matches, but there again, I don't know the background of the rivalries and whatnot. And I've seen some stuff them taking shots. I go, that wouldn't fly over here.
Right. You hit somebody that hard, they might send you home for the night.
Yeah.
I think it may be, you may like it to a point. In Japan, I mean, hell, the main sports press in Japan covers everything they do. It's treated like baseball or football or basketball is here. I mean, they know it's a work, but they don't culturally treat it that way. Well, one thing I think we can agree for sure, this match got a ton of press.
Yeah.
And so here's the point. Wrestling was all over the news, and the wrestler didn't have to die for it. And to me, that's a great thing.
It's rare.
So, yeah. All right, fellas, let's go ahead and move on here. All right. Treachery! After returning to Raw after nearly 6 months of rehab, John Cena was greeted by AJ Styles for more than 2 minutes. What had been a dead Green Bay crowd chanted like mad for both men. It was an electric moment, a moment that WWE played up as the fans' dream that it was. As a dream match, after a few friendly words, AJ betrayed John Cena, joining forces with Gallows and Anderson to beat the face that runs the place down. This past week on Raw, WWE confirmed that AJ and Cena will square off at Money in the Bank. Josh, now, you immediately posted that you thought this was great. It was one of the best things that Raw had done in a little while. You go ahead and tell us what you think.
Well, I think the line about, when we said to Cena, I know what happens when guys like me wrestle guys like you. It's time to get out the shovels. Man, I howled at the TV when that happened. But it's a strange situation in my estimation, because you've got a guy that the crowd wants to cheer in AJ, but the company wants him to be the heel, and you've got the guy that at least half the crowd always boos, but the company thinks he's the face. I hope that AJ manages to get over. I hope that he embraces the heel role he's being given, and maybe the crowd will come around to it. If that's what they're going to make him do, then I hope at least, he does it convincingly. I think the match will be good. Cena can usually put out a good match, and we know AJ can, so it ought to be good. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Justin?
Nick, are you ready?
I'm ready.
You ready?
I'm ready.
I don't care who wins and loses. I don't care if AJ jobs to Cena. He's going to have a 5-star match. He's going to give John Cena the best match John Cena's been in since Edge made John Cena look like gold during their feud. I'm very, very excited that AJ is getting this kind of exposure and this kind of a push. I'm stunned that they're putting him against Cena, with Cena coming right back, because I'll tell you, man, I would not be the least bit surprised if AJ goes over.
You think?
I really wouldn't, man. I think it's the kind of thing that would not hurt Cena. It would give Cena that chance to have, from SummerSlam to WrestleMania, to come back.
Yeah.
Does he still have it? All that BS.
Yeah.
When really it's about the company starting to kind of change directions a little bit.
Seems that way.
They had Orton and Cena go down pretty close together, and then there was this sea change that just kind of happened. And I think John Cena has to fit into that, but I don't know how he fits into it. I know AJ looks better out there right now than damn near anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, man, he is taking his licks. He is looking great. His promos have gotten better, thank God. That shovel promo, man, I was sitting at the table drawing, and I was glancing up occasionally, and he said that, man, and I put my fucking brush down and I listened.
Yeah.
That's the most honest thing anybody said in a while.
Yeah, man, Drew and I were sitting here, and it was just one of those ooh shit moments. It was like, uh-oh.
Yeah, that was good. That was good, and that needed to be said. And Cena don't care, man. He's how many 59, 79, 109 cars? That guy, he's fine. He'll be out of this. If he feels like he's not he's past he'll go heel. I mean, shit, who's to say he doesn't have a heel turn in him?
You think he'll finally do that?
You want to see me in a John Cena shirt? Turn him heel.
Kind of like Hogan.
I'm going to go ahead and be honest. I was all set to crap all over this. The reaction you guys had, the reaction you guys had for the Memorial Day Raw, when Cena came back, when Cena was doing his promo, and he talked about the new generation, I literally leaned forward in my chair, put my hands together in supplication, and said, please, Jesus, and I am not a praying man, please, Jesus, don't let AJ Styles come out there. Oh, dear God, please no. And then I heard AJ's organ music, and he came out. And while you guys were marking out, I was freaking out. Because what it comes down to is this. I know this means another 2 straight losses for AJ Styles. Now, if they had done this after AJ had been protected and not lost for 7 months, the program with Reigns had never happened. If they did this, I would be cool with it and I'd think great. But as I'm watching this, all I can think is John Cena is the Afghanistan of wrestlers. He is where other wrestlers' careers go to die. Ziggler, Bray Wyatt, Rusev, the list goes on and on. But that said, so immediately I was freaking, and it was great. The heel turn was amazing. Of course, AJ and Gallows and Anderson made it magic. If I watch that in a vacuum, I totally get that. That's always my problem with the WWE. Even when they do something that I love, I can't enjoy it because I know the end result is always going to be the wrestler who's not as good, who Vince McMahon chooses winning. It's like if God was just a mean-spirited guy who liked to make good people lose and bad people win. That's what being a WWE fan is like. But that said, I was listening to a podcast by Wade Keller last week, and they pointed out some things that I had not thought of. AJ Styles has had a very historically privileged position. He's been able to come in and keep his gear, his own name.
Yep.
His past has been acknowledged again and again and again.
Well,
and that
not the
same
TNA part.
Well, then, wait. They do not talk about TNA.
That's what I was saying, not the TNA part.
Oh, you see, that they have code for that.
Yeah.
I watched that last night when we were talking, and we're going to talk about NXT later. When they mentioned Austin Aries, they talked about him wrestling all over the world. They mentioned Japan, but they just left TNA out.
Dirty word. It's like you don't say wrestler. You're a sports center. You know, you don't say TNA.
But just in general, AJ Styles has been given a privilege, and he's been sold in a way that a lot of wrestlers haven't. And these are guys who know a lot more about the inner workings of Vince McMahon's booking style, I guess. And apparently, one of the things he does is he has wrestlers prove themselves. And one of the ways he has them prove themselves is he makes them do jobs.
Eat shit and learn to like the taste.
I'm going to be honest. In a year, if AJ Styles, I've heard lots of rumors. I've heard that he is supposed to be the top heel of SmackDown and that he is supposed to be the SmackDown heel champion. If that happens, then we're great. Then all of this was just well-booked, good wrestling matches, and it led to something that put AJ Styles on top. Anything that doesn't put him on top, I think is shit. And my worry is, after 2 months, 3 months of losing to Cena, he becomes, well, maybe not Zack Ryder, but he becomes Bray Wyatt.
Barrett.
He becomes a guy who doesn't matter. Not buried. He'll always.
I said Barrett.
TV's like, go ahead.
No, I said Barrett. Like Wade Barrett, the way he got buried after, coming in and having a huge angle.
Wade Barrett kept getting hurt. He got the pushes.
Well, that's true. Well, I mean, but, he had the pay-per-view where he got to wrestle Cena, and it was, wasn't it a title match?
It was a flat match.
Yeah.
I mean, it was.
After that, Barrett never came back up to main event status ever again.
And that was once. That was his blip.
Yeah.
Where has AJ been on the card since WrestleMania?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, man. He's making money. He's selling merchandise.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I hope he doesn't end up like Barrett did. That he got fed to Cena and then suddenly he just kind of fades away. Or they
did Barrett ever get a solid push like this? A main event push on both shows first for the strap and then against the dude that's bigger than the strap?
Well, I mean, the Nexus angle wasn't a small angle. Them guys came in and just started beating everybody's ass, including guys like Michaels and, that...
I completely agree. But that was a group.
Yeah.
This is AJ. With Gallows and Anderson, they're doing their own thing. They don't need each other. It's cool that they're together. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But I don't... If you look at it as a situation where I want him to be successful, this is being successful.
Yeah.
And this is more successful than I've seen anybody else be.
Just coming right in the door.
Yeah.
True.
No, I agree. I agree.
And I don't think they're going to knock this guy's legs out from under him. I think as long as he can perform, and the other thing is, man, as long as motherfuckers in the back want to wrestle him, and everybody in that locker room wants to let AJ make them look like gold.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting that you say that because I read an interview with him a few weeks ago, and at the end of the interview, the interviewer, I forget his name, but asked him, you know, what is your goal in WWE? And his goal, it wasn't the championship, he said, I want to be the guy that every other person wants to wrestle. And I think that's absolutely what he is. That's, Justin, you said earlier, wow, you know, like you were surprised that he's in a program with Cena. I'm not, because, you know, interesting enough, Cena is a massive AJ Styles fan. I'm willing to bet that when Cena came back, because that man has stroke, I'm willing to bet he came back and he said, I want to work with AJ Styles. I bet he was excited about it. Cena, for all the criticism he takes, that is a motherfucker that loves wrestling. He does. I mean, you know, good or bad, that guy loves wrestling. He loves it. And I appreciate that about him. So, now, I don't think for a minute he'll put AJ over. I don't think he'll go that far. But I do think that was the first thing he said when he got back. I want to work with AJ Styles, and I want to do it now. So.
Well, listen, I'll be pulling for AJ until there's a 3 count against him. I think he's going to win at this pay-per-view. I think that Cena's going to be able to get back over on him later, either at SummerSlam or maybe even push it off for something else. They could do a trilogy. They could have AJ win because Owens beat him. Owens beat Cena, and they had 2 more matches, and Cena cleaned his clock in both of them.
Yeah, he did.
I'm willing to accept that. I'm willing to accept whatever they give us, even if they give us 3 matches in a row and AJ goes down every time. Because the wins and losses, I just don't care. Like 50-50 booking has destroyed win streaks, except for Roman fucking Reigns.
You know, I mean, yeah, you're right. But here's the thing, you know, I get that you don't care about wins and losses. And here's the thing, for me, I don't give a shit who wins or loses. But I know that Vince McMahon does.
Yeah.
And I know, and he can say he doesn't, but if he didn't, Roman Reigns wouldn't have been booked like God Almighty. And neither would have Cena. You know, and the casual fan does. Cena mentioned it the other night. He mentioned to AJ, hey, you've lost while you've been here. And I thought, listen, I'm all for that. Wins and losses should matter. But if there was ever a time where they just needed to forget that a guy lost, it was now. And they didn't. So, you know, here's the thing. I think we can all agree. We've all said that this has never happened before. That nobody has ever been in a position that AJ Styles is in. So we really kind of have no frame of reference for it. Justin, I think everything you said was completely right. If it turns out that AJ Styles is still in sort of the privileged position he's in a year from now, and he becomes a WWE guy, ends his career with 4 or 5 strong years where he has a great run, then everything I say right now does not matter. My worry is I have no trust in Vince McMahon. 0. I have negative trust. But you were right when you said to me the other day, hey, listen, Daniel Bryan had to eat shit for years, and we got WrestleMania 30, which, you know, was one of the closest things to a religious experience I've ever had. So, any other thoughts on this before we move on?
I got 2 words for you about having to eat shit to get to the top. Those 2 words are Trish Stratus.
Ain't it so?
Josh, you remember that stuff, right?
Oh yeah, man. Vince humiliated her in every way humanly possible.
Yeah, but the best thing about that was that son of a bitch paid a price for that, because when he went, after all his life, after wanting real mainstream acceptance, when he was in that interview with, who was it with? It was Bob Costas.
Yeah.
Bob Costas showed those clips of him making her walk around like a dog, and McMahon had to eat shit for it. And if there was ever somebody who deserved it, it was him. Yeah. I don't know what bothered me more about that. The very fact that Costas really doesn't understand how pro wrestling works. I mean, that blaming McMahon for that, he's a piece of shit, and I'm glad he had his comeuppance, but, you know, blaming him for that, that's like watching a movie where, you know, there's a rapist, and then you blame the actor who's playing that. No, I mean, the guy gets his comeuppance in the end. McMahon did with Trish Stratus, but I was really disturbed by the way McMahon was unable to articulate and defend his own business. I could have done a better job. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on. Moving on here, the Beast is back in the UFC. SB Nation reporter Ariel Helwani of SB Nation broke the news that Brock Lesnar would be returning for a one-off fight at UFC 200. For doing so, he has been stripped of his press credentials, banned, quote, for life from UFC events. And it was a really interesting instance because immediately Dana White was asked about this after UFC 200, after the video package they put together, which insinuated Lesnar would be at UFC 200. I'm sorry, it was after UFC 199 that this happened. And Dana White at first denied it, but this was later confirmed by the WWE, the UFC, and by Lesnar himself in an interview with Paul Heyman and then with SportsCenter. I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest UFC fan. I've watched the last few pay-per-views they've done. I'm trying to get into it. But I think this is really interesting because Lesnar is the one guy who really straddles both worlds in that he has been a champion in both professional wrestling, in WWE, in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he's been a heavyweight champion in UFC. He's been a top draw in both places. Justin, what did you think when you heard this news? And how do you think this will affect Lesnar's position in WWE going forward?
He'll be back. I think he will definitely be back. But you know, I watched this SportsCenter interview, and he talks about, you know, having this need to prove this to himself, to do this, to be genuinely. I'm cool with it, man. I just hope Mark Hunt doesn't knock his damn head off, because Mark Hunt hits like a freight train.
No kidding.
And Mark Hunt is already talking shit, and you know, I don't really recall Mark Hunt being much of a shit talker before now. He's always been kind of a humble guy. Like, he don't take no smack, but he doesn't talk a lot of smack. But like, he called Lesnar a part-time fighter, and said he was gonna, you know, send him home, send him packing or whatever. So that's kind of interesting. I will be watching that paper. The Helwani thing is interesting because, man, that was like, that dude, like, since then a lot of stuff has come out. You know, he's talked about how he was on the UFC's payroll, basically. So that's not really reporting. That's just being a mouthpiece for the person, you know, giving information out about. But you know, he only reported this, was it like 6 hours before the promotional video hit the pay-per-view?
Yeah.
What the fuck is that, man? Okay, so he got out 6 hours early. It'd be one thing if it was like 6 days. It might even be one thing if it were a day early, but what you want is buzz. It got buzz. And I don't, like, you know, I've read up on this dude a little bit, and it sounds, you know, like he just kind of let his journalistic ethics slip for a paycheck, and shit, I'm not going to judge the guy. It's just, you know, it's what he did. But I don't think he should be, you know, getting stepped on like this by UFC, by White and the brothers, you know, the Fratelli brothers. So, but anyway, yeah, no, I'm all for the Beast coming back. I hope he does well. I like Hunt as well, so, you know, I just hope it's a good fight and nobody gets anything permanently injured. And I think Lesnar will take him, you know, personally.
Josh?
I don't think, you know, win or lose, that it's going to hurt Lesnar's position in WWE or anything. There's been talk that he's booked for SummerSlam and everything, so I mean, I don't think this is going to hurt him. I'm more interested to see if maybe this kind of works out as a favor for a favor situation between Vince and Dana White. You know, maybe it's like, you know, I let you use one of the guys contracted me for a one-off. Maybe you let me borrow one of yours. And maybe that could spell that one appearance they've been trying to get for someone like Ronda Rousey or someone like that. I'd like to, you know, kind of see if maybe that opens the communications between them, where it's easier for, you know, ones that want to go from one to the other to do so if they really wanted to.
Yeah, you know, and I've thought about this. I think there's a really good chance of that. Lesnar said, I think in the Paul Heyman interview he did, that he called Dana White. And here are my thoughts on that. Either that's an outright, I won't say lie, because, I mean, he's just trying to promote a fight. Either that's untrue, and Dana White called him and asked him to do it, or Brock Lesnar saw a huge opportunity, because with Rousey not being at UFC 200, and then the Conor McGregor situation, with him not being at UFC 200, Dana White needed something big for that card.
And
he needed something really big.
I don't know why he backpedaled so hard. You know, like he was saying, "Oh no, that was it was a technical error," or why? I just don't understand that.
I think they were pissed that Helwani had done that, and they weren't ready for it to go out. I'll be interested. One thing I thought about was they shouldn't be pissed at Ariel Helwani. How many thousands of people bought that pay-per-view only because they heard there would be some mention of Lesnar being at UFC 200?
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, how many people would have skipped that and didn't? That I don't know. I got to be honest. I can't really tell how much of this is a work and how much isn't, because one thing Jim Cornette has said many times is that UFC is the best wrestling promotion in the world.
Yeah.
Because they use lots of sort of standard, like old school wrestling promotional techniques. And so I don't know, maybe this whole Ariel Helwani thing's a work.
I was about to say, I wonder how much of the stuff that goes on, in those little weigh-ins and stuff like that, I wonder how much of that is scripted, or if any of it is scripted. I've wondered that for a while, because it does resemble the old school, wrestling contract signings where it's going to end with two guys getting right in each other's face, maybe even breaking out in a fight. I wonder how much of that is manufactured.
Well, I think that's where you really have to sort of almost draw a line is how do you define manufactured? Because here's the thing about, take the Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor fight.
Right.
Those are two guys, they know that if they're just gentlemen and they go out there and they shake each other's hands, nobody's going to give a shit. People pay, when people shit talk.
Oh,
so when Nate Diaz got out there and dropped the F-bomb on Conor McGregor, that was obviously kind of a work. I mean, McGregor is savvy enough to know that. I really doubt lots of these guys actually have problems with each other. They realize they're selling something. Of course, the fight isn't scripted, but rivalries, I don't think it's scripted, but I think they know, hey, we need to juice this shit up. Justin, you're a much bigger fan and can speak to this better than me. What do we think of? Okay, my worry is, what if Lesnar's destroyed? Because if Lesnar is destroyed, here's the thing.
He's been destroyed. Alistair Overeem fucking ruined him.
Yeah.
Cain Velasquez put that scar on his face.
Yep.
He's been destroyed twice. He showed up and suplexed John Cena 179 pounds. And everyone went, oh, fuck it, man. Who cares who knocked him out in an octagon?
Yep.
Those squared circle, that's the monster. That's the guy you got to be. And they've booked him like that.
See.
So
but I mean, here's the thing. There were several years between him taking that ass whipping from Cain Velasquez and him suplexing John Cena to death. You know what I mean? I mean, we're talking about literally a month or two. If he gets his ass handed to him, how does he walk into SummerSlam still being... I mean, there are ways to book around that. They could now book him. Say he gets beaten to death in 30 seconds, which I don't think will happen. Say he does. He could then go to WWE and they could book him as, wow, Brock Lesnar has never been this pissed off. Now he's got something to prove.
Either that or play off of something that happens to him. But I mean, maybe play off something that happens to him. If he gets, the guy attacks his legs a lot, maybe it'll translate into when he's in the ring, maybe someone will know work his legs because so-and-so really put it on him.
Mm-hmm. Well, I tell you, man, I don't think Mark Hunt knows any leg locks, but I do understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's primarily a striker, isn't he? I mean,
all he does, man.
That goes.
He does any submissions. I think it's all knockouts and stoppages from strikes.
And the thing is, Lesnar does seem to have kind of a glass jaw. I mean, hell, there have been 2 or 3 matches that he's talked about, 90 seconds in, he got hit with something and he doesn't remember much of anything beyond that. you know, a striker really. Those are the people that seem to have his number.
Well, maybe so. I guess it's just, you know, when anything that weighs over 300 pounds is swinging its arm at you.
Yeah.
You know, not looking like both of those guys are hitting each other with full lunch boxes.
True.
You know what I mean? Like those dudes those are cinder blocks. Like those are big fellas. There's 100 ways to book Lesnar coming back, and all of them end at Suplex City.
True.
You know, unless they decide to jettison that gimmick and they go with, you know, Submission City, and he just starts putting Kimuras or Dragon Sleepers or what the fuck ever hold he decides looks the most painful, that he can lift people over his head and keep them in the hold. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This dude's he's a physical freak. He's proven in the WWE on 2 separate occasions. That dude left the first time giving the entire WWE universe and WrestleMania both fingers.
Yep.
And saying, fuck you. And he came back, and we are buying his shirts and cheering that sumbitch every time he walks out. And he is one of the biggest baby faces in the company.
Oh, without a doubt. And you know, without them wanting him to be. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
they went into WrestleMania 31. They went
looking.
Oh yeah, you know, I mean, he went into WrestleMania 31, and you know, I remember up to WrestleMania 31, I loved Jim Ross's podcast, and for months leading up to WrestleMania 31, he said they can't book Lesnar as a heel. It's not going to work. People love a badass. They will live vicariously through him when he destroys people. Everybody wishes they had, for the same reason people love the Incredible fucking Hulk. And when we get to WrestleMania 31, you put Lesnar in a ring with a guy, you know, they wanted to be a babyface, but I'm sorry it's not happening. Roman Reigns. Did any of us not love watching him just beat the living shit out of that guy?
Yeah.
I know I did. And absolutely. But I will say this. I'm just going to say it. I hate Suplex City. I hate it. His match with Cena, Lesnar can do more than that.
Yeah, it's that repetition
and
of
now
one
the
move.
thing, like what now we all like his match with Ambrose at WrestleMania 32. Let's all count the fucking suplexes.
Yep.
That bores the living shit out of me. It's one move. That's why I really loved his last 2 matches with Undertaker. Since Undertaker can't take so many of those,
He had to
Lesnar
do other
had
stuff.
to do something else.
Yep.
And there were better matches for it. Josh, what do you think?
Considering the versatility he used to have, having just, you know, his arsenal consisting of about 75% German suplexes, it just feels like, well, I'm with you. It got old quick. You know, I would like it more if it was like a fatal 4-way and he had thrown like 4 or 5 on, you know, each one of them, but to do it, you know, 12 and 13 times the same person over and over. It's like, I know you're capable of more and you won't give us more.
Yeah, I mean, the gimmick is fun. The gimmick is great. And the gimmick happened accidentally. I mean, he got in there at WrestleMania 31, and, you know, there was just that spot where he looked down at Roman Reigns and said, Suplex City, bitch!
Yeah.
And I literally turned to Jasmine when that happened and said, well, that's going to be on a t-shirt tomorrow.
Yep.
And I'll be goddamned if the next day, t-shirts
Yep.
at ProWrestlingTees.com. That's a free plug for them. You know, I've got no problem with the gimmick. I think it's a great gimmick. I've got no problem with one spot in the match where he suplexes a guy 6 times straight. Because that's literally 90 seconds of a match. But for the other 18 minutes, do something else.
Yeah.
Justin, what do you think? Go ahead.
This is where y'all differ from the mob. All right, the crowd loves it. I like it. I enjoy it. I like counting the suplexes. My thing is, I like seeing the dudes, the way the guys are selling. You know, like everybody's differently. Not everyone ragdolls. Some guys don't know how to take it after that 3rd or 4th one. I really start paying way more because Lesnar throws them like the same stack of sheets every time.
Yeah, he just chucks them, man.
Yeah, he doesn't change his angle. He doesn't throw him any shorter.
Nope.
And some throws him 3 or 4 feet right over the back of his head, straight onto the flat of their shoulders. And if it's screwed up, it's their fault. And he's like a machine. And then you get to see these guys like Ambrose And Cena, like, okay, now what are you going to do on your side of the match? No, we're not giving you a chance to get your licks in. You're not going to get the shine unless you sell like Ricky Morton. So what are you going to do?
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, I mean, I don't know. I'm with Josh. I like more variety, sort of in my. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Justin. There's money in it. Obviously, there's money in it.
I have the same criticism of John Cena. I mean, you know, like when he was wrestling early on, he did a lot more moves than he does now. I just hate to see a wrestler narrow their arsenal when it's plain and clear that they are physically capable of still doing every bit of that.
Well, you know, one thing, Steve Austin, and Steve Austin is the biggest, I mean, a massive Brock Lesnar fan. One thing he's said in his podcast several times, and you can tell that I'm a nerd and I listen to lots of wrestling podcasts. One thing Steve Austin has said is Brock Lesnar sort of developed that, what he calls Suplex City style, to protect himself.
Yeah.
To protect his body, to make his career last longer. Because there's one thing about Brock Lesnar, that dude's a businessman. Everything he does, I mean, it is a business decision. So that I understand. And you know, when we're talking about moves here, let's face it, with Lesnar, it's presence. It's that guy standing in the middle of the ring while his opponent is down on the ground, barely able to move, and him hopping from one foot to the other. That way he does, bouncing his arms up and down, while Paul Heyman laughs and claps. It's the presence he brings is so legit, you know, to the point where you allow yourself as a fan to forget that, hey, this is all predetermined, because you almost can't imagine that man not being a deeply cruel person that likes to hurt other human beings. That everything about him drips that.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, there's obviously money in it, or they would, you know, do something else with him. I think they've diminished him though. That they've had him on TV too much. I don't know. There's just. I was thinking about it today. The streak ending with him was wasted. They did more with him destroying John Cena than they ever did with him winning this, breaking the streak. But that's a conversation for another day. Go ahead.
There were definitely, we'll do it another time. There were definitely better people to have done that, but I don't think it was wasted. I think that it was the thing that like sort of solidified his return. And also for me, I remember going, well, shit, that means he's going to stick around. And for that next year, for the most part, he did.
Yeah.
And I think the E is better with Brock in it.
Agree. Completely agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I really UFC. I don't think it's going to really affect things one way or the other unless he wins and gets the bug and wants the belt and decides to stay in the UFC, because he's not going to be able to moonlight. I know that earlier there was some optimism about that. I just personally, I think that the two guys that are the mouthpieces for that company, Vince literally runs his, and then Dana White basically takes orders from only two guys above him that he goes back to the old school with. Those guys are assholes. Assholes assholes either become best friends or they just fucking stay assholes. And I'm afraid those guys are just never ever going to get along. And earlier, you know, and again, it's also, I don't mean to sound argumentative about it. I believe Brock about him calling Dana. I really do. But I think he saw an opportunity and called him. I think there is a possibility that it could have gone the other way, of course. But I really think that it's something that he's been out of wrestling now since Mania. You know, he's up there in the fucking woods, and he's looking at that. And I think you're right. You're exactly right about he looked at that. He said, I was the main event in UFC 100. I can be a huge part of UFC 200. And I can make as much money at this one fight as I would have made in half of a year's contract with the E. Yeah. You know, I think it's a good thing. I'm going on though. We can go on that.
Yeah, you know, I mean, and it's interesting. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's what. If he did call Dana White, that was it. My point is, the reason Brock Lesnar's going back to UFC 200 is because, man, did they need something for that card. But, you know, it's interesting that you mentioned, you know, that, you know, you hope that, you know, Brock is going to continue to be a part of WWE. I agree. He's the reason I came back to wrestling. You know, I literally went 10 years without watching a single WWE show. I was completely away from it. And two things happened. One, because I'm a cable cutter, WWE Raw and SmackDown came to Hulu. But the biggest thing was, I'm a teacher at a community college. One of my students was a guy that used to work security for ECW.
Huh.
And he's a massive wrestling fan. And when I mentioned, I think how much I liked Shawn Michaels one day, like as a wrestler, not as a person. And he came up to me after class and told me all about how back when he worked for ECW in Philadelphia, and he mentioned that Brock Lesnar had returned to WWE. This is back right after he had that match in Extreme Rules with Cena, and I thought, well, shit, if Brock Lesnar's back, I'll give it a whirl. And I watched one episode of Raw, saw Daniel Bryan do that backflip off the turnbuckles, and I've been watching every week. I've spent a large section of my life with wrestling ever since. It was about 4 years ago. All right, now what we have all been waiting for the last several weeks, the promotion. I'm just gonna go ahead and call them their own promotion. The promotion that puts on the best pay-per-views or special events in professional wrestling. NXT had NXT Take Over the end just last night. Now, we had some amazing matches. We had American Alpha versus The Revival. We had Nakamura versus Austin Aries. We had NXT's first ever cage match between Finn Balor and Samoa Joe. So we want to talk about this. We want to I think we can at least go over those three matches. There are a few more, but I think those are the most important. Let's start off with talking about American Alpha versus The Revival. Now, I've got to say, I think to me, this is the best tag team match I have seen in recent memory. I'm very high on both teams. I love that American Alpha has basically taken the Team Angle gimmick, which is so geeky and forthright that it used to be a heel gimmick, and now, amazingly, these two guys are so good, it's a babyface gimmick. And we have The Revival, who are like Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard come back, and their whole gimmick is no flips, just fist. We're not here to entertain you. We're not here to make you cheer. This is a contest. Fuck you. We will take the wrestlers you love, drag them into our corner, and beat their teeth out. I love both teams. I'm high on both. I love this match. Lots of great action. Josh, we'll start with you. What did you think of the Tag Team Championship match?
Man, the only thing I had against it was that it was American Alpha's first defense of the title. I wish they could have had just a little bit longer reign. I know they'll probably get it back, but there again, NXT doesn't flip the titles around much, and Dash and Dawson, are their first two-time champs, and I guess maybe they're like their first two-time champs in anything, aren't they?
Yeah, they're the first ones ever. Corey Graves literally said right after they won, they are the most winning tag team in NXT history.
Right. Now, I wonder, have there been repeat title holders in the women's or the NXT title? I don't think so. Have there?
No, because I remember Sami Zayn when he
was going to become
back from his injury. He was briefly there. He talked about being the first two-time NXT champion.
Yeah.
No, I think that's first.
But the match was great, man. I enjoyed it. It had Dash and Dawson at first they didn't get over that well with me, but those guys are talented. They can get in and have a good match with pretty much anybody. And the matches I've been seeing out of NXT, all the tag team matches here recently have just been pretty damn good as far from where I'm sitting. I'm hoping that this tag division down here translates into a strong tag division on the main roster at some point real soon. Although that's also been doing a little better in general. But I loved the match. I hated to see them lose. After not even having one title defense under the belt already. But the ending, what happened after the bell, and that that was awesome. When I finally realized who it was I was looking at, with Ellering, I didn't without his shades, he just wasn't right, you know.
I marked out.
Oh, I did too.
I'm an NWA fan. I grew up in the mid Atlantic territory. Like I remember being a kid and worshiping the Road Warriors. And when I saw him walk out, I had the same moment. I was like, "Who the hell is? Oh my God, that's Paul Ellering!" You probably saw my post on the board. To me, the best thing about that, and I'm sure we'll get to this in a minute because we haven't even asked Justin what he thought of the match. But can I just say, oh my God, now NXT is going to have managers?
Yes.
Like I'm going to be honest, like I straight wood. Hard on the sides of my fist. I'm telling you, I was ecstatic. Justin, what'd you think?
Great match. I loved that American Alpha lost because it really made me mad and it made me feel bad.
Yeah.
And that's what I want from wrestling. So I thought it was in the bag. Those guys are going to get a couple of defenses. I think they're going up. I think NXT's. I think they're going straight up. And they'll debut soon, probably on with the brand split, which I think is also what this whole like NXT the end, take over the end. I think we're about to have what might be called a mass exodus of anyone that's been at NXT
the first gen
for a couple of years or is ready.
Yeah.
A lot of them might go up to this brand split. And we might get a lot of new signed people, like Nakamura, Austin Aries. I could see Bobby Roode being the next guy in NXT, and them starting to build talent behind him. And like I think Asuka's going to go up. I think we're definitely American Alphas for sure. I think Ty Dillinger has a really good chance of coming up, or at the very least getting a better push. When this happens.
Man, I hope so, because I'm a real big Ty Dillinger mark. I've liked him since he and Jordan were a tag team. In fact, when he showed up and it was the skit where Jordan and Dillinger, and he introduced himself as Ty Dillinger, and he said, "What's that?" And he said, "It's my name. My mom gave it to me." And it was just I've liked him since then. And I hope he gets a real good run. I'm afraid he's going to be one of those guys, though, that ends up being the guy that works with the guy who makes the money.
Yeah. It could happen to Tyler Breeze. Tyler Breeze is that guy from NXT right now.
Yeah, he really is.
Tyler Breeze is a guy that should be getting the push, but instead he's doing the jobs.
Yep.
You're absolutely right, though. I don't know if you heard about it, but 1 month ago, NXT... they signed literally about 65 new talents.
Yeah.
So they brought in a whole new crop of people, and a lot of them are like college athletes who've never been in a ring, but a lot of them were indie talents. So I think it's time. I think they should clean house because we've been enjoying this for years. All these. Wonderful talents that we've seen, but I think it's time for them to. I would like for them to they're good at making stars. So take the guys they've made, guys like Finn Balor, guys like Ty Dillinger, move them up. The brain split's the perfect time. Bring in guys I've never seen. I went to their house show in Charlotte a couple of months ago, and guys I'd never heard of before. No Way Jose, the guy who was in the match with Dillinger. I got to see him wrestle. He's fucking amazing. I'd never heard of that guy before. And he's been an indie wrestler for years.
It's like what's his wash? I can't remember his name. I'm supposed to be a wrestler.
Cien Además. Well, it was part of it at least.
Andrade Cien Almas.
Yeah. He was great. Here are my thoughts on the tag match. I think NXT operates very much under the idea that some people need straps and some people don't. Enzo and Cass never held those belts.
And they didn't need
Blake and Murphy, who are nothing, held them for almost a year. The Ascension held them for over a year.
Yeah.
If you guys had to pick, what two guys is the WWE most high on? The Ascension or Enzo and Cass? Who would it be? Obviously, it's Enzo and Cass. I think belts only matter to us. And sometimes I think there's just this really big gulf between the people who do the booking and make those decisions and we, the fans. We really care about it, and we're supposed to. That's their job, to make us care about it. But last night, like earlier, we were talking about AJ Styles. Him losing a lot has kind of bothered me. But American Alpha losing the belts, even though it was their first defense, didn't bother me at all. Justin, your reaction to it was great. That, you know, like it was you were angry, but that's how you're supposed to feel. That's a testament to how good they are.
Yeah.
The guy that the booker for one of the bookers for them is the guy that used to be the Red Rooster. What's his name?
Terry Taylor.
You know who I'm talking about. I know his name as good as I know him. He's one of their bookers.
Terry Taylor.
Terry Taylor, yeah. He's one of their bookers, and the man's a master. Like everything they do is great. It was perfect. I love the ending. I love the match. One thing I commented on while I was watching it to you guys. A couple months ago, I heard Jim Cornette talk about how nobody does a real hot tag anymore. It's always, the babyface has been beaten down and he's crawling across the ring, and the heel finally, he is crawling to his side, and then the babyface finally gets a tag. And Jim Cornette said, "That's not a hot tag, goddammit. That's how you tease people. A hot tag is when you do that spot many times where you think the babyface is going to get the tag and then he doesn't, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere he outsmarts the heels and he does get it, and it's a surprise."
Right.
And you never see that anymore. And there was a time last night when Gables had done that whole deal where he was reaching for Jordan and then couldn't get to him, and then he crawled through Dawson and Dash's legs, got the tag out of nowhere. It was a surprise, and I thought, shit, hot tag, a real one. And tiny small thing made me mark out. I loved it. I loved the end. Who do we think? Who are the two new guys? Justin, you're far more into the independent scene than me. The two big monsters that came in and beat the living shit out of them. Paul Ellering came in. Do you know who those guys are?
I think they're like one of the old headhunters, like one of his grandkids or his. I don't know. I'm just gonna pretend and I don't know.
I haven't seen
Before
them.
I asked that question, I should have looked it up on Wikipedia, where I'm sure it is. Josh, what do you think?
I have no idea who they are. I know those are some really big dudes, because Jordan's not a small guy, but he absolutely looked, like a normal sized fella in comparison to those two. When the crowd was chanting, "Who are you? Who are you?" and I'm hoping to God that meant that they were talking to the two guys in the ring, because if they were chanting that at Ellering, it kind of hurts my heart a little bit that the crowd has no idea anything about him, because he managed the Road Warriors, and he had a big influence back in the day. I'm hoping that that translates to him imparting a good bit of knowledge to everybody there in the locker room, but at the same time, if they were chanting "Who are you?" for the guys in the ring, cool. If they were chanting that looking at Ellering, it's like, oh, come on, y'all.
I don't, get the NXT audience. I would find that very surprising, especially given where it is. It's in Florida. In the Florida territory, the Road Warriors tore that place up. I would have
True.
I don't know. I didn't even catch that chant, but all I can say is literally the only thing that has been missing for me from NXT, the only thing has been managers. I love managers. It's a Southern tradition. Growing up in the Mid-Atlantic territory, we had Jim Cornette, we had Paul Ellering, we had J.J. Dillon, we had all these great managers. And to me, that is something that is completely underutilized in today's wrestling.
Oh, it's almost extinct in WWE, man.
Yeah, it's in WWE, it's basically Paul Heyman and nobody else. I mean, I know Lana is quote a manager, and Woods, Xavier Woods most of the time is kind of the role he plays, along with being a part of the tag team, but it's something I deeply miss. Apparently, it was never that much of a big thing in WWE.
Well, Vince has always been said to hate managers.
Yeah, I mean, and they had Bobby Heenan, but you know what I mean? Just like from what I've read and what I've heard, and this surprised me over the last couple of years, I've just read and heard this, that Vince McMahon has never valued managers all that much. Personally, we the fans may not have seen that, but that was kind of his attitude towards it. I miss it. I miss the shit out of it. My favorite manager in the world is Truth Martini, the manager of the House of Truth and the manager of Jay Lethal in Ring of Honor. And even though they're operating on a shoestring budget, he and Jay Lethal together make me feel like that belt means, frankly, more than the belt Roman Reigns is holding. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it does. That belt means more than the WWE title simply because Jay Lethal holds it and Roman Reigns holds the WWE title. Anyway, okay. Let's move on to the next match, let's move on to Nakamura versus Austin Aries. Oh my God, what a dream match. They both walk out. Austin Aries is over. Jesus Christ. Nobody has been more over ever than Nakamura is with NXT fans.
Isn't he?
He walks out. We get Austin Aries, Nakamura chants. We get both these guys chants. It was the only reason this wasn't unbelievable magic was because the last time we saw Nakamura on NXT TakeOver pay-per-view was, and I'm just going to call it pay-per-view even though it's not, was because we saw him with Sami Zayn, which was even better. But this match was amazing. Justin, what did you think?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think it was I don't know if it or the tag match was match of the night, but I think it was definitely and easily one of the two. I love both guys. I've been following Aries a lot longer, but ever since I saw first time I saw Nakamura, I was immediately a fan, and it has only grown since then.
It's impossible not to be.
Yeah,
if the moment you see Nakamura walk down a ramp, if you're not a huge fan, Jasmine, my wife, who is, I would say, is sort of the Vince McMahon wrestling fan in that she is not a hardcore fan like us. The only reason she knows every guy on the Ring of Honor roster, but only because she watches it with me. The moment she saw Nakamura walk down the ramp to face Sami Zayn, first time she ever saw him perform, she and I saw him live at their house show. She is the biggest fucking Nakamura fan. She refers to him as, quote, he's my guy. And this is a mom of 3. That's Vince McMahon's fan. If that doesn't tell that guy something, I don't know what does. But absolutely. Nakamura, you can't not be a fan of that guy. I didn't mean to interrupt, Justin. Go ahead.
No, that's good. I enjoyed the match. That was a really, really solid match.
What'd you think of the result? I thought it was great. I totally thought Nakamura should go over. But what did you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, that was fine with that. Aries went in with the taped ribs. That's kind of a, one of those, I wasn't 100%. Like, he didn't have to play that card. That's what that's for.
Good point. I hadn't even thought of that. That's smart. Good point.
Yeah, and then, I don't think it really, it would have been a bigger blight to Nakamura than to Aries. Nakamura's going to have that. He's going to ascend. I think that guy will be. I mean, I'm not kidding. I think that guy's going to wrestle at WrestleMania. I mean, one way or another, I'm pretty sure he's going to be there.
Like this coming one?
Yeah, like if he's not at this WrestleMania, it will surprise me the same way that Finn Balor was not at the last WrestleMania.
Oh, okay.
Just 2 or 3 months before that, I just expected a call up just for his entrance on a WrestleMania stage. But they're waiting. They're taking their time. They're taking more time with it than I expected. But I think Nakamura will be off there pretty quick.
Josh, what'd you think?
I enjoyed the match, man. It was really good. They were both kind of stiff a little bit, but I mean that's just apparently their styles. I understand that. I'm with you about Nakamura. There's something about the guy, like he's extremely strange, in all his mannerisms and everything, but somehow it is very engaging. Um, I'm not totally familiar with his work, but I've enjoyed what I've seen of him so far. And that match was really good. I like his finisher. I noticed that Graves had yelled Kinshasa before he actually put it on him, and then when he did, he yelled it again. But yeah,
it was the Bombardier when he was in NJPW.
Yeah,
Bombardier! It was fucking great.
Yeah,
yeah. Is exactly. He's altered it a bit. This. It's more of a standing move now. Back when it was in New Japan, I don't know why they've changed the name from the Bamae to the Kinshasa. I guess it's a very small thing. They've allowed him to keep his identity. It's basically exactly the same.
Yeah.
I won't call it gimmick, but he's totally allowed to be himself.
Yeah.
The only thing that's missing from him, obviously, is the ability to talk. I saw his, they sent him out to the ring, in a promo, I think a couple of weeks ago with Austin Aries, and they gave him the mic. And while, he can speak English, that is a guy that needs a manager. He really, that's the one thing he's missing. I really do feel that way. And it's not his fault. He's learning a second language. I don't know a second language. To you and me, to all of us, that doesn't matter. To the average fan, it's going to. To the fan that is going to, it's gonna go to the average WWE house show. That's gonna be a thing. That's the one thing that worries me about it. But I don't know, like coming into NXT, he's been treated like royalty more than anybody ever. I mean, Finn Balor was treated like royalty. So was Samoa Joe. Lots of guys have been, but
so was
nobody's
Owens.
been more protected than Nakamura. Nobody. So I don't know. I love the match. I thought it was great. We all knew it would be. There was no way that it wouldn't be. It was a dream match. Let's face it. Something I appreciate NXT giving to us. Let's move on and talk about the cage match. Now, I'm going to be honest with our listeners. I fell asleep. I've got a cold. I'm sick. I was tired. I have only seen the entrances. Samoa Joe's entrance, just walking down to the ring with a towel around his neck, great. Finn Balor coming down and again doing sort of a variation on the demon theme. Loved it. That's all I've seen. I'm just going to let you two guys go. Josh, your thoughts on the cage match. The first cage match in NXT. Go ahead.
Wait. All right, because I'm going to give this one to you, Josh, because I didn't like the match. I don't like the feud. I love both the guys.
Right.
I don't know why, but I have not enjoyed their work. That's my opinion. I don't like cage matches. I just didn't enjoy it. I thought that the rest of the card was much stronger for the most part. So, Josh, if you've got anything, you go right ahead, because that's all I got.
No, I'm with you. I loved the way the cage came down from the ceiling and folded in as opposed to being lowered. Yeah, that was pretty cool. The match, I'm with you, man. I don't think they have very good chemistry. It seemed like they were pulling way too much back instead of just actually opening up and having a real cage match. One of my hang-ups with the cage matches, I know it's one of yours too, is the door. I think if the thing lowers in from the ceiling like that one did, it ought to be, you don't get out of this cage. There's only one of two ways to get out of here. Submission, pinfall. That's it.
The fuck.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that, but that door, I hate that door.
Yeah, but I
think that door is probably literally medical safety reasons.
Probably so.
What if one of these dudes breaks something?
Yeah, we got to be able to get in there.
No, we got to get in there.
Yeah,
that may play a significant part in that.
Yeah, that's the thing I hate the most about WWE cage matches. And here's the thing: I don't mind the door being there, but the stipulation that you can win by getting out of it, and the referee will assist you. That fucking sucks. I was literally, like I said, I've only seen the beginning of the match. I know that Joe went over, but I was praying, please God, let them make the stipulation it's over the top or pinfall or submission. I get over the top. That's fine, because then you get to have, if you have the over the top stipulation, well, you can win by climbing over and getting out. Now the wrestlers have a reason to climb to the top, so you can do spots from the top of the cage, which is great. But opening the door, God, I was so just, I'll be honest, that's when I cut it off. When I found out that, hey, well, they can just get out the fucking door, I was like, I'm done. I'll do this another time. But go ahead, guys, go ahead.
No, I just didn't. I don't know why this feud hasn't done a lot for me. The one thing I was looking forward to and terrified of was that Finn would try and do the coup de grace.
And end up messing up his ankles again.
Yeah, well, no, just that he would, hit Joe and destroy something.
Yeah.
But then they didn't go for that. I thought the muscle buster off the turnbuckle was pretty brutal.
Yeah.
And everybody sold well. But cage match, first cage, last cage match. I don't care.
It was main event because it was for the title, and I think that's about it. Because, the Nakamura and Aries match showed off a lot more. Hell, the Dillinger and Almas match wasn't bad,
No.
But I think that one was just, main events purely because it was the title. I don't think it, looking back at it, it definitely wasn't match of the night.
Yeah, I agree. I love the we skipped the Dillinger Adamus match, but I do have to say I love Dillinger's gimmick because of its simplicity. He's the perfect 10, so he can come up. It's similar to the Yes chant in its simplicity, and he can just come out and he can just put up both of his hands, and now the crowd goes 10, 10, 10.
And boy, do they.
They sure as hell do. My God, I mean, he was supposed to be the heel in that match.
Yep.
And he just gave up. He didn't even try to be the heel. Why bother when you're getting that kind of a crowd response? I mean, that's totally a babyface chant.
Yeah, the crowd won't let him be the heel.
He's good at it. He's good looking. That guy can do it.
Yep.
Hey, we're also leaving out Asuka versus Nia Jax.
Another match I didn't see. Again, fell asleep, sick, cold medicine. Justin, what do you think? How did? Tell me, your friend who missed it. Was it worth seeing, and why?
I like Asuka. Ooh, I like her a lot. She's really awesome. My gal was very taken with her entrance and her appearance.
Yeah.
She's cool. I like how she works stiff, but also works well. Nia Jax, I don't know. Maybe for a big wrestler, she's all right, but they didn't work well together. And it was a stretch that little Asian girl could go over that large black lady. I mean, I just or Samoan. I don't mean to sound insensitive or anything, but I'm not sure what there is. But she was like,
she's Rock's cousin.
Oh, that's right. So yeah, so there you go. My bad. I mean, now I have to back out of the insult just to go back and delete that shit. No, but I didn't think they worked well together at all. Like, so what do they say? It's all about matchups. That was not a good matchup.
It really wasn't. Asuka, if she's wrestling a woman that's more her size, it seems to go a lot better. But you notice some of the kicks she normally throws. When she did that roundhouse, it just did. The end of her toes would have actually hit her in the chin. And, which I guess they kind of answered that because that's how she ended up being able to kick her in the head, was to have her down on her knees. But,
I thought Jax had to sell some stuff that she should not have had to have sold.
Right.
Like Asuka kind of threw her around a little bit, or like kind of did a couple of tosses.
Yeah.
I just didn't. I didn't buy it. I was having to.
No, I thought it was unlikely that she would ever actually be able to, even with the best of her abilities, maneuver a way to throw Nia Jax around like that.
Well, I think one of the contradictions and challenges of NXT is that they're simultaneously trying to be basically their own wrestling promotion inside the auspices of WWE and still being a training ground. Here's the thing about Nia Jax. She is unbelievably green.
That's true.
In 4 years, could she be an awesome Kong?
Yeah, sure.
Maybe she could.
Yeah.
But, she's brand new to it. This is the same problem that Baron Corbin had. These are people who are not everybody's going to be a Chad Gables, who, comes in and the guy is brand new to it, and in a year, he's one of the best in the damn world.
Isn't he?
And to me, that's sort of the problem that Nia Jax has. Give her time and seasoning, maybe she could be great. But right now, and I appreciate what they're trying to do. This isn't like, John Laurinaitis literally flipping through supermodel catalogs to basically bring in underwear models to pretend to be wrestlers. I appreciate that in the women's division they would have a large woman. That's great.
Yeah.
I want women's wrestling to be women's wrestling. It does not need to be, male sexual fantasy stuff. But she needs more. And she's not ready to go with an Asuka or a Bayley. She's just not. Ladies and gentlemen, that was another week of the Heel Section Wrestling Podcast. We'll see you next week. Have a good one.